Minutes for this. All right, should be good to go.
Very good. Thank you. Want to welcome everybody to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission, our regular meeting for February 9th, 2022. And if you could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Noreen, if you could do the roll call, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, Chairman Payne,
Here,
Commissioner Claffey,
Here.
Commissioner Haggerty,
Here.
Commissioner Havens,
Here.
Commissioner Linares,
Here.
Commissioner Twister,
Here.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Braverman, Commissioner Gill. You're all set.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't think we have any changes in the agenda, correct, Renata?
I apologize for being muted. No changes to the agenda.
No changes in the agenda. So the next thing on the agenda would be public participation. So if there's anybody out there that would like to make a statement within your Zoom application, please raise your hand if you'd like to participate during public participation. If calling into Zoom meeting by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. Use *6 when recognized to speak by telephone. And please state your name and address for the record. Eric, do we have anybody out there?
There are people out there, but nobody has their hand raised at the moment. So,
Okay, hearing no objection, we'll move to the zoning enforcement officer's report.
you see the report before you. Got a couple things cleared up. The 26 Church Street, the lighting issue was resolved. A couple other issues. Any other questions from the commission?
Let's go to the commissioners and see if they have any questions concerning either this zoning enforcement report, or if they have any other questions concerning anything else in reference to zoning enforcement. Commissioner Claffey, go right ahead.
I just have a question. Have we gotten any new sign permits? I've seen a lot of signs popping up that, but I haven't heard through.
I mean, the one you sent in today, I was out there today.
I mean, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Like a business coming in and saying, "Hey, we want to put a new temporary sign on our sidewalk in front of our store."
I haven't really had any temporary sign. I've had, I think, a couple late last year, but nothing as of yet this year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, is there any other questions? All right, thank you, Eric. Very good. Our next thing, do we have any remarks from commissioners on anything else? Hearing none, we'll go to a first public hearing. Before we go to the public hearing, I would ask Commissioner Havens if he could read the procedures for a public hearing.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Procedures for public hearings. The order of proceedings at public hearings shall be as follows. A, convening by chairman. B, reading of the notice by the commission secretary or commissioner designated by the chairman to act in his stead. C, identification and location of the property involved by the town planner. D, a statement of the issue to be considered by the chairman or the town planner. E, presentation by applicant, limited to 20 minutes unless a specific extension is granted by the chair. F, persons wishing to speak in favor of the application, limited to 2 minutes per person. G, Persons wishing to speak in opposition to the application limited to 3 minutes per person. H, rebuttal by the applicant, limited to 5 minutes total. I, rebuttal by the opposition, limited to 5 minutes total. During a public hearing, it shall be within the discretion of the chairman whether the time limitations should be varied slightly, provided the commission consents to any such variance. In no case shall an extension be for more than 20% of the allotment indicated above, or 1 minute, whichever is greater.
Okay, thank you. And if I could have Vice Chairman Claffey, if you could read the petition 01-22, please.
Petition 01-22 special permit section 3.17.8 to allow storage of motor vehicles at 249 Day Street, applicant Marabelli Automotive LLC owner, 249 Day Street LLC, contact Robert F. Ludgen.
Okay, very good. Thank you. If the applicant's here, we'll turn it over to you for a brief description.
Mute yourself. Mr. Ludgen, would you like to unmute yourself? You are the applicant on this application.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, anyhow, I'm Bob Ludgen and I'm representing the applicant, and I'm accompanied here by Peter Mirabelli, who is the owner of 2 limited liability companies. One is Mirabelli Automotive LLC, which is the applicant, and the owner of the property is another LLC. It's 249 Day Street LLC, which he is also the sole owner. And the applicant's pretty straightforward in terms of this is an empty lot, and it's been used for parking for about 75 years anyhow. But the goal here is to accommodate his relationship with Eversource, which, as you probably saw in the paper front page yesterday article, they're doing a lot to prepare for being ready on a quick basis to solve problems of power outages across the state from hurricanes and storms and windstorms and whatnot. And as part of that effort, they have purchased a lot of new lift trucks with booms and buckets. And the purpose of this application is so that Mirabelli can rent space on that parking lot to Eversource to park 50 of those trucks there, with the idea that they're just across the street from Mirabelli's automotive place, so that they can service those trucks and always have them ready. And as you can see, there's a map there that's been worked on at great detail to show the site, to show what there's a wetlands area that has been a subject of a Conservation Commission hearing and approval. And there's also been a ZBA hearing and approval obtained regarding a variance for the fencing, so that it could be 6 foot high all the way around to protect the security of those vehicles. And you should have in your packet letters signed by some 9 or 10 of the neighboring property owners, all in support of this special permit application. And the goal is that if we get the approval, that the trucks can be parked there. And I think each one is worth about $250,000 by putting 50 of them there, and Eversource registering them with a motor vehicle with a Newington address. That should add a sizable amount of change to the tax payments by Eversource to the town by having the trucks there. The more important part is by having them there, they can be serviced and be always ready and available for linemen that they bring in from out of state. Instead of having them drive their trucks from far away, they can fly in and use these trucks right away. And the use is hardly anything different from what's been going on for 75 years anyhow. It's more intense, and because the trucks are of such great value. There's been a need for a security fence and so on. So that's what the application is all about.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to the town planner to see if she has anything to state. And then we'll go to questions from commissioners. Do you have anything to add, Renata?
Just a couple of things. So overall, as the applicant stated, this area has been used for parking for quite some time. This proposal will provide some additional landscaping along the Day Street, which I am in a really quite a big support of, because it is quite needed. Right now, there is a sort of uninterrupted curb cut that kind of follows like the entire frontage of this property onto the site. So I find the proposed landscaping in this section along the Day Street to be much improvement. The use itself is going to, parking of trucks. I don't know how that compares to parking that traditionally happened here, but it's obviously a parking lot. So there was obviously something that was parked there previously anyways. The property is fenced. There is a barbed wire on top of this fence. We will, as you will see in our motion, recommend that this barbed wire be removed off top of this fence because it's in an excess of height that is allowed on this property. And this is currently going through the wetlands approval. But the Wetlands Commission has issued finding of non-significant impact, or essentially has not required a public hearing on this. We discussed these kind of situations previously. You can act on the site plan as is advised by our town attorney with conditions that the application receives the wetlands permit. And that's all in the way of the staff report. And then later, when you get into the public comments, I will have the public testimony to read as well.
Okay, thank you, Renata. We'll go to questions from commissioners. I have one question for the applicant. I noticed that some of the trucks are there now. Are all 50 located on the property now, or are just half of them there? If you could clarify that for me.
I think there are only 10, but I'll let Peter answer that.
There's only half from there.
Okay,
The other half are across the street.
okay, very good. Thank you. Commissioner Havens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to say I drive by there quite frequently. The landscaping they plan to add will only make it better looking. Even with the fence, it's a 1,000% improvement to what it used to look like. I have one question. I guess it's actually for the town planner. In the note that was attached with the information, there's a note saying that the 6-foot fence on the two front sides was approved by a 5-0 vote by the Zoning Board of Appeals. Are we still going to try and make them reduce the height?
I think the height's at 7 feet now because of the barbed wire. But Renata, that's a question for
Or
you.
8. Yes, so the barbed wire was placed on top of the 6-foot allotment.
Okay.
So
Does that
they're exceeding their allowed variance.
Okay, so I guess what they'll do is put a shorter chain link and still have the barbed wire to fall within the 6 or 7 foot height.
I would prefer that they don't have a barbed wire fence, period, but that's your decision out there. I think one enforcement matter is that the variance was specific to height and they can't exceed the height itself, not necessarily to type of fence.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Claffey.
I think one question that strikes me, and it's for the planner to clarify. In the 2-page memorandum, on the second page under section 611, service, sale, repair, rental, or storage of motor vehicles. I guess I'm having a little concern with 6-11-4. And I'm sorry, 6.11.5, sorry. I guess I'm having an issue with how close that is to a residential zone on, I think it's Francis Avenue.
All right, so Eric and I reviewed that section for interpretation the way we understood it. And this special permit is for, so the original car repairer, Mirabelli, right? Is that the name, Eric?
Yes, Mirabelli, yes.
Mirabelli. Mirabelli is a car servicer. They are allowed to have across the street under the different section of the zoning regulation, parking for the vehicles that they sometimes service as long as they own this, this lot across the street. So this special permit was given to an operator of service across the street, which will not be fixing vehicles on this lot where the vehicles are just to be parked. So this particular permit right now that you're looking at is essentially for this provision to be allowed to park across the street on a lot that is owned by the vehicle repairer and servicer operating under the section 317.8. And therefore, because they're not going to be repairing on this lot, that provision of 100 yards did not in this instance apply. Is that how we ended up in that interpretation, Eric?
Yes, and that's under
Correct.
section 6.1.1 D2. It talks as long as the additional property is within 600 feet of where it is repair area, which it is.
So you're telling me that 6.11 has nothing to do then with what we're looking at right now?
Right.
So why is it even a
In
so
the
what they
criteria,
want is
I
in a
don't know.
different
Eric.
section of our
Why
zoning
is it?
regulations?
Why is it, Eric, can you remember?
Because it's an accessory use of the Mirabelli business, right?
That seems fair, yes.
Well, that seems fair, and what is actually right seem to be two different things tonight. The way I'm reading it, I'm reading that under our zoning code, storage of motor vehicles is under 611. Because the owner is 240, the owner is 249 Day Street LLC, right?
Yes.
The owner is technically not Mirabelli Automotive LLC, which is down the street. They would have to be the same companies for that to work, right? Or wrong?
Let me read the, I think it's owned by or controlled by is the language. In 6 point.
You know what, we had this whole discussion about this. If you wish, the commission can table this decision if you wish tonight. I know that the applicant is under some kind of time pressure, but one way to resolve this would be to table and give us until next meeting, and we can write up our reasoning as to how did we came to the conclusion that this section was not applicable in this case. But I remember Eric and I sitting in my office, reading his memo and discussing this specific section.
I mean, there's Renata, there's even under the 6.11, there's 6.11.3. falls into this because we zoned an area there as a religious institution down the street from there.
But it is more than 100 feet away.
You sure? Because they park right across the street.
Well,
Or
but
they
from
fence that
the
off.
property, from property to property, I did measure that on the GIS and it wasn't excess of 100 feet.
Okay,
Might
so
have
that's
been
what I'm getting. We're using certain things under 611, and then other times we're using certain things under a code that's in a different section that we don't even have in front of us. So.
So I'm
My
not
thoughts.
prepared to answer this on the fly right now unless Eric is, because he wrote this. So unless the applicant can respond, or you can
Yep.
give us some time, like we need to table this.
The applicant may have some comment on it.
Well, first of all, we talked about this issue before with staff, and that Mirabelli is leasing the space from 249 LLC, 249 Day Street LLC. So it does control the property, which we believe that was sufficient to satisfy meeting it under the code. And as the town planner indicated, there's a time pressure that my client is trying to respond to from Eversource, because they purchased the trucks and they sent them in. And as he indicated, he's got some parked there now and some across the street. But he's under pressure from them to get them all parked there as soon as possible. As far as the barbed wire is concerned, that was not something that my client came up with on his own, but rather that was a request by Eversource for security purposes. And that, from their point of view, that was a very necessary part of the fencing.
Well, how would you answer the, you're not supposed to exceed the 6 feet? You only got a variance to go 6 feet high.
You're right. And I think that what they're gonna have to do is try to design the fencing so that the barbed wire meets that height requirement. Have you talked with them about that? You're under the impression that's workable, right?
Yeah. Okay, Commissioner Claffey, do you have a question?
But my second item is to be discussed is the applicant has stated this is about Eversource, but it doesn't matter if Eversource went away tomorrow. If we change this, you could have any trucks there. I don't know why, and maybe the planner can enlighten me, or the assistant planner can enlighten me why we're talking about a specific company that's going to use the property when storage of, all we're doing is changing the zoning for that lot to allow the use of stored vehicles. That means any vehicle could be stored there. It could be an 18-wheeler, it could be an ice truck, it could be a dump truck. Why are we so pigeoned into specifically this Eversource? I mean, personally, I don't think it should even be around. I mean, the point of Eversource and spending money in our town has nothing to do with this. It kind of shades a gray line of why this is getting changed. So, I mean, I'm trying to understand why we're really here to just change the lot to a use of stored vehicle usage. That's it. Doesn't matter who wants to store their vehicle there. The circus could come here and store their vehicles there, which is fine. I'm just trying to understand why we're pushing Eversource. It just puts a bad
My
light on
understand-
the DPZ.
So my understanding is that this lot has been always used as a parking lot, just for a different property. So the reason why it is before you right now is that it's being used by an auto vehicle repairer. And therefore, that particular use, which is further down the street, requires this particular type of permit in order to operate an off-site parking lot.
Well,
So we're not
It
making
doesn't
it-
have anything.
we're not making
It does
a-
not have absolutely anything about Eversource. So this has nothing to do with Eversource as far as we are concerned.
That's what I'm trying to understand, Ms. Planner, is that this is this Oh,
It's
now I'm
it's
completely
no,
confused.
it's for the use of storing vehicles,
Ju-
whether
yeah,
they're
purely
Eversource,
just vehicles. It doesn't matter whose vehicles they are.
D&D, it doesn't
This,
matter.
this could change tomorrow, and Marabelli could put, or whomever he wants to lease that to, could put any type truck there. That's all I'm trying
Yes.
to understand.
Yes,
Correct.
you're right, Commissioner Claffey.
Or
You're absolutely
let me
right.
rephrase it. Not Marabelli, 249 LLC.
Correct.
LLC.
If there's no objection, Commissioner Woods, do you have a question?
Probably more comments, Mr. Chairman, than questions. Again, I grew up in this neighborhood on 77 Main Street, so I'm extremely familiar with it. Played here when we were kids. This is obviously the annex parking lot to the old Ajax manufacturing plant, which is across the street, which has been vacant for quite a while until this new owner, I think it's actually two separate corporations. One is Gagland Real Estate on one side of the road, which is the building, and the other side is 249 Day Street LLC. But again, it's been used as a parking lot since I can remember. I think I moved to Newington when I was 6 months old. I don't see this as being out of line with the use. It borders right on the edge of an industrial zone, which is Day Street. I'm glad to see this piece of property being utilized. I think there's no reason for us not to move forward with it. They're making some improvements to it. The planner brought it up. She's right. Right now, if you drive down Day Street, there is no curb cut. It's just parking lot. You could drive in and out anywhere. So they're bringing it into a more conforming lot, more formal lot that has a formal entrance. And personally, I don't really care what trucks or vehicles they park in there. I think it's a decent use. I think if Eversource wants to put 50 trucks there, I think personally that's fantastic. It'll help them respond much quicker to emergencies. But again, I'm okay with Marabelli parking vehicles in there. Although if there was going to be vehicles that were going to be stored, from car wrecks and stuff like that, I think we might want to look into either having the fencing with some sort of privacy slats in it or more buffered landscaping around it. But other than that, I don't see an issue with this moving forward, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Vice Chairman Claffey, go right ahead.
I mean, to Commissioner Woods, your point exactly is that if we make this change, that can happen. Meaning it's great to have the trucks here, and I'm not against it. But what I'm saying is, it's coming across that that's the only thing that can ever be there. But to your point, this could change in 2 years, and we could have cars that are damaged, wrecked, or whatever, just sitting there. That's all I'm trying to understand. Really, we're not changing this to specifically for Eversource trucks. We're changing the zoning to allow any truck or type vehicle. That's all.
I'm in complete understanding of that, Commissioner
Okay.
Claffey. I understand that.
Okay. Commissioner Trista.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I concur with what Commissioner Woods just said too. I mean, if I drive by there all the time, and I think, it's already being used that way anyway. So I think, they're gonna put, even if, as Commissioner Claffey is saying, in a couple of years, if it's different kind of trucks, I mean, they're already there anyway. So it'll, as long as it sounds like it'll look a lot nicer with what they're doing anyway. So I don't see any issue with it at all either.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Haggerty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I suppose I don't have strong opinions either way. I guess I'm mostly interested in what the local residents will say, because you mentioned anything about Day Street, and that certainly produces a lot of chatter. So I'm just curious of what the local residents will say about, a big parking lot essentially being now formalized, because like Commissioner Claffey said, this isn't just for Eversource. This is anything can be used to park there. So I'm curious what the local residents will say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Claffey has a point that this could be used at a later date for something else. So we should decide whether or not it should be treated whether, no matter what's going to be there, whether or not the commission wants to see some slats and privacy slats in the fence. I only have a couple of issues with some of the existing plantings near the roadway. It appears like it could block the sight line, and I'd like to see some of that cleaned up, and I'd like to see some landscaping continued around the front, like they proposed farther down. Other than that, I think it is an improvement for the area, and if there's no objection, we can go to the public to see if they have any comments. Commissioner Woods, go right ahead.
I was just going to ask the planner, I believe the property is owned by the same person on each side of the street, who is a electrical contractor. Would there be anything that he would need if he was using this to park equipment across the street?
If I'm not mistaken, Renata can answer this, but I believe the person across the street sold the property.
That's correct.
So the property has been sold to the 249 Day Street LLC. So Mr. Gagnon would not be able to park anything over there.
Okay. All right. I wasn't aware of that, Mr. Chairman. Okay. Thank you.
If Mr. Gagnon needs additional parking, he'll have to use his parking over on his side over there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other questions? I'll go to the public. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak in favor of this application? We do note that there was some letters from approval. Is there anybody wishing to speak in approval?
Stu, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
I appreciate it. Stu Drost, 74 Glenview. I drove past the property today, and I do have to say what Mirabelli's done versus what it looked like in the recent future looks great. My only question would be with the neighbors which support the lot being used as a parking lot storage for emergency vehicles for Eversource. Obviously love the idea of emergency vehicles, which might in a roundabout way help Newington being on Newington property. My bigger question would be is how quickly would these neighbors pull their support if, based on the fact that they're an emergency vehicle, 3 in the morning, 50, because that's the number we're talking about, 50 diesels get warmed up at 3 in the morning to be used for emergency purposes while all these out-of-state crews come in to jump into those trucks. Obviously, we're talking about a significant amount of noise being very different from the noise which is there now, which is pretty much during regular business hours. I mean, I don't know specifically. I'm assuming Mirabelli's not working on trucks at 3 in the morning, but starting 50 trucks to go out in the middle of a storm, would that quickly take away the support of the neighbors who are quite literally directly across the street? I think it's a great direction to move in. I think that Mirabelli's done a great job with improving the property over what it was in the very recent future. My only concern would be the 3 in the morning, hey, they're emergency vehicles and they need to warm up. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor?
No one else has their hand
Mr.
raised right
Chair.
now, Chairman.
Yes, Renata?
So, Mr. Chair, if I can read into record these letters then. So our office received, it's one template letter and it was signed by 7 neighbors. So I'll read the letter and then I'll read all the names and addresses into a record. The honorable members of the Newington Town Planning and Zoning Commission regarding 249 Day Street, pending application by Mirabelli Automotive LLC, 249 Day Street LLC owner. Dear honorable members of the Newington Town Planning and Zoning, I am the owner of the property neighboring 249 Day Street. The property I own is at address. I'll read all the addresses in a minute. I am aware of the hearing scheduled for February 9 regarding the above-mentioned special permit application. I understand that Mr. Mirabelli, the owner of both Mirabelli Automotive LLC and 249 Day Street LLC, is seeking your permission to use the area for parking some 50 Eversource-owned brand-new utility repair trucks equipped with buckets and hydraulic aerial lifts. It would not make sense for our town to turn away this opportunity to generate significant tax revenues for itself by having those 50 new trucks registered with the Motor Vehicle Department as garaged here in Newington. Their combined 70% assessed value may be in $8 million to $9 million range. With our town's current mill rate of 38.81, that could bring the town an annual payment of over $300,000 in return for hardly any town services. Furthermore, the area in question has been used continuously for at least several decades for the parking of automobiles and trucks. Therefore, I have no objection to this special permit application. Indeed, I enthusiastically favor it. Names are Freddie Ortiz of 17 Day Street, Carl Marata of 147 Francis Avenue, Raymond Gagnon, 240 Day Street, Raymond Zissa, 184 Day Street, Matthew Criddle, 174 Francis Avenue, Angela Muir, 141 Francis Avenue, Austin and Alex Muir, 124 Francis Avenue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak in opposition to it? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition?
No one has their hand raised right now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Eric. If there's no objection from the commissioners, I suggest that we close this petition and possibly move it to old business for further discussion.
I'll move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Woods. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Havens.
Seconded by Commissioner Havens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the approval of minutes. Entertain a motion to approve minutes of January 26, 2022 special meeting and the TPZ regular meeting of January 26, 2022 on the regular meeting. Do I entertain a motion?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Woods and seconded by Commissioner Havens. Is there any discussion or corrections on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next thing on our agenda is new business. And if I could have Commissioner Lenars, if you could read petition 0222, please.
Petition 02-22, site plan modification at 16 Fen Road, applicant Vincent Porzio, owner 16 Fen Road Realty LLC, contact Mark S. Shipman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is the applicant here?
I'm the engineer. Mark Shipman should be present as the attorney for the project.
He is on.
I was muted. I'm sorry.
There we go.
The applicant.
Go right ahead, Attorney Shipman.
Yes, I'm not going to take a lot of your time. The staff report is pretty comprehensive. in the sense that there's very little, if any, different, well, there is a difference between the original site plan and what's presented today. The only change is that instead of going through to the shopping center, the roadway will end at the private drive. I don't know whether you want to put up the site plan, but it was never intended that the private drive be an entrance and exit for this site. If you're coming from the south, you could make your right-hand turn before that at the signalized intersection. And if you're coming from the north, it would be foolish to try to fight the traffic at a non-signalized intersection when you can go a few hundred feet and turn in otherwise. The original plan did show a passage between the property and Stop and Shop by entering the private drive. Stop and Shop asked that not be so. They're concerned about impeding the truck traffic, which brings them supplies, groceries, etc., and didn't want people crossing. It was originally opened, we thought, for their benefit to provide additional customers for the shopping center, but Stop and Shop did not want that open. Perhaps at some future date they might change their mind, but that's the only change. Rather than taking a lot of your time with presentations, I have Mr. Chris Francis here who can answer any questions, and we have submitted a revised traffic impact statement, and I think staff has, in a very short manner, articulated that there's a little substantive change.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Shipman. We'll go to the Renata to see if she wants to state anything for the record.
Mr. Chair, we reviewed this for the technical compliance. It meets zoning regulation. The engineering had no issues with this, so I really don't have much else to add to this.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any questions for the applicant or for Renata? Is there any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Trista, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just a quick point of clarification to the attorney for the applicant. You just stated, so this request was initiated by Stop and Shop. This wasn't the applicant's decision. This was Stop and Shop requesting to do that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any other questions? Any further questions? It's pretty simple. And Renata did a good job on the staff report. So if there's no objection, we're all set, I believe. We'll move that to old business. Have a motion to move that to old business?
Make a motion to move petition at 16 Fenn. Possible action tonight.
Second.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Trista.
Seconded by Commissioner Trista. Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to move this to old business. And we're going to go into old business next. And first petition is petition 52-21. And if I could have the Vice Chairman Claffey read petition 52-21, I would appreciate it.
Petition 52-21 zoning text amendment, section 3.22.1 to define and allow commercial vehicles as an accessory use in a residential zones. Applicant and contact Newington TPZ tabled from 1/26/2022.
Okay, thank you. Renata, is it possible for you to put up some of the this text from last time?
Yeah, sir, can you please show the
I'm working on it right
version?
now.
So we'll show just the clean version of the proposed text.
Do you have the, version of what we're taking out? Do you have that version too?
We do, but why do you want that? That's the one that created all kinds of questions before.
Just in case the commissioners, the new commissioners wanted to see that first and then go to the new one. It shows what we're taking out, correct? I'm not sure if.
Sure, Eric.
I can
If you
get
want
that
to
one.
show the one, yeah, if you want to show the one from the last.
Just give me a
month's
minute to go
folder.
find that one, but the one up now is the clean version. That's the one that's on the screen right now, so let me go, you go grab the other one.
We may only need that in case the commissioners would like to look at it. That's all. Do any commissioners have any questions concerning this? I left this open purposely last meeting because I know that Commissioner Woods and Vice Chairman Claffey were very involved in setting this regulation up and designing it and modifying it a long time ago. And then we were supposed to have it on the agenda and it got missed by the wayside from our previous planner. So
here's the version with the markup.
Thank you, Eric. So I wanted to make sure that those commissioners were comfortable and the other commissioners were comfortable on this before we did anything. And if any commissioners have any questions.
So if I can just chime in, what you see on the screen right now is an actual proposal. So if you adopt this regulation, this is what will be in the regulations. The commercial vehicles will be a lot. Eric, go on back. Thank you. Just for a moment, for a moment, please. Entertain me here. So the commercial vehicles, which are currently allowed as of right.
If you're, please mute your phone if you're not talking, or mute your video. Thank you, Renata. Go right ahead.
So commercial vehicles under our current regulations are allowed as of right, and they're defined, but they're very in current regulations, very the definition is full of like double negatives. So there is like a long list of what commercial vehicles are, but then there is a separate list of what cannot be allowed. So many things that are listed as okay are also listed as not okay. And it really is confusing as when a normal person reads that, like whether or not something is allowed. So that's all cleaned up. And right now what you see is what would be allowed. So there were questions from the public with regards to, will I be allowed to have a plowing equipment? You know, that's in the regulations that would be included. Yes, you are allowed to have that. Vehicles permitted to be kept at the residential property do not include heavy-duty earth-moving equipment, cement mixers, trenching, playing equipment, buses, semi-trailers, tractor trailers. So we're talking about really large vehicles. There are provisions that allow you to get more than one commercial vehicles under special permit section. So this is the gist of it. This is, if we adopt the regulation, this is what will happen. What you see on the screen right now.
Thank you.
Eric, if you want to go
Commissioner,
on to the,
well, commissioners have any questions concerning this? Commissioner Claffey, Vice Chairman Claffey, go right ahead.
My only concern I have is under 322.1C, when we talk about allowing people to park these vehicles in their rear yard. So that basically says that you can park any type car in your backyard. That's where it kind of, you know, it's like I was driving down Walsh Ave today, and there's a house that has pickup truck and 2 construction trailers, and it's been in their side yard. And I'm not throwing anyone under the bus here, but it's been in there for 4 years. And it's definitely not our new people that are on staff. But what I'm getting at is that once you start putting things in the backyard, it's a vehicle wise, it starts to become more of an issue. Now it becomes storage for these places. So, and I know it's confined to a lot of areas around that you can't put a vehicle back there. Just like my house, you can't drive a vehicle. I think I got 7.5 foot on one side with a fence and everything else. So that's the only thing kind of weird, that this kind of tells you, hey, you can go park all these vehicles back there.
Well,
that's all. That's only my only concern.
Well,
Everything else, I think it looks very good.
So
I'm just not a proponent of being allowed to park vehicles in your backyard. But again, I understand with some of the lots, like you look on Richard Street, a deep, these deep lots, I get it. And the actual parking area for the garage is behind the home, so I get that. So that's the only thing. I know it really means nothing. It's just I have to say that I'm just not in favor of it.
So Vice Chairman Claffey, and or maybe this is for Renata, are we requiring, if it's parked in the side and the rear, aren't we requiring it to be screened?
I don't believe that language is in here.
No, that is not for commercial vehicles. I think the screening requirement applies for recreational vehicles.
Correct.
Well, why wouldn't it apply for the commercial vehicles too? If you're going to park them in your side or rear yard, I think Vice Chairman Claffey has a good point. Then it should be screened.
It just it's odd because certain vehicles by our zoning are allowed back there, and certain vehicles now aren't allowed back there. I'm just trying to make it consistent.
Renata, this doesn't cover RVs?
This is a different section. This is not RVs. No, this is a whole different section. This does not include any requirement for landscaping. I do not agree or disagree with you with regards to the landscaping. I frankly didn't think about it because it was never part of this revision that you kind of worked on a lot before I ever got on board.
If you're looking, just for clarification, section 3.3.2 discusses the RVs in residential zones.
What was that?
3.3.2. And that specifically points out boats, trailers, campers, recreational vehicles.
I mean, that's right where we talk about, if you're going to put a recreational vehicle, boat or trailer, you have to have, something for the adjoining property. Now, a commercial vehicle, which I understand we have a lot in this town, don't get me wrong, it's like easier to park a commercial vehicle in your back or side yard than it is to park your boat or trailer, like a utility trailer, like a 5x8 that you might use to move dirt and debris down to the city dump or pick up, stuff. So it would seem like
we should be consistent.
Section D of 3.2 should run with section here with the 3.22.1. That's all. I mean, we all have a neighbor who has a boat, and most of them park them very nicely and diligently. But now you're going to open it up to where, you can have a commercial vehicle back there with nothing. But
if I can just interject one thing, the vehicles that we're talking about in 3.3.2 are not allowed to be parked in the front yard. A commercial vehicle can be parked in the front yard. It can be parked in your driveway. I mean, so that's all. So
yeah, but in 3.22.1, you can park a commercial vehicle in the backyard.
Right, but it can also be parked in the front yard. There's no.
Okay, so
that's all.
I think I think what Commissioner, Vice Chairman Claffey is stating though is if the resident decides to park it in the side or rear yard, then maybe we should be consistent with our RV regulation and just provide some sort of side screening to screen it, similar to what we do for the RV regulation, so that we're consistent. Is that my take? Am I on target with what you're saying, Vice Chairman?
Yes, they should just mirror each other, even though they're separate sections. And you're gonna have bigger commercial vehicles. You can have a 3/4 ton dump truck technically that you drive for transportation that technically falls within the regulation to park in your yard, which I'm fine with.
Okay, let's go to questions and see what everybody else thinks. Commissioner Woods?
Muted. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that, I was muted. I like it, although I'm agreeing with Commissioner Claffey on 3.22.1. But I think we might be able to clean it up if the planner agrees. If we leave the first sentence and the second sentence, such vehicles shall be parked in the driveway. Take out either and period. No or on some other suitable paved areas in the side or rear yard. I'll give you an example where I live, and I know of several others. I don't have parking in front of my house. My parking is between my house, the rear of my house, and my detached garage. And I think there's a lot of areas, and I think that's what this is trying to address. So I think we just need to get rid of the second part of that, and then it's clear. It needs to be parked on a paved surface. I don't think it's going to be an issue for most people. I don't think most people are going to want to park a commercial vehicle in their backyard on their lawn. I just don't. But nonetheless, we just take it out, so there's no confusion. It's parked either in your driveway or it has to go. I don't know if that's agreeable
So if I may,
to the rest of the
Mr. Chair.
commissioners.
Yep, Renata, go right
So
ahead.
if I may, I think Mr. Wood's suggestion is probably better than requiring landscape. I can see some problems with requiring screening and landscaping, in particular in front of the properties. First of all, the intention of this regulation is different than what is the intention of the regulation for RVs. You're talking about people who bring home vehicles that they work with to be parked overnight, and presumably take with them like in the morning. So these are not to be vehicles that are parked for like 6 months straight without being moved, such as an RV or a boat or something that's more like a fixed thing that should really be screened and landscaped. Landscaping and shielding in a front yard can create obstructions with sightline, can create problems for people. I mean, sometimes you have just these restricted like front areas where you don't have space to provide landscaping, and it kind of defeats the point. So maybe if we require that parking is done on an actual driveway, that accomplishes more than requiring screening, I think.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Renata. Commissioner Haggerty?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think great points by Commissioner Claffey there. I certainly, think we should strive for consistency within our regulations. And, another great point by Commissioner Woods there, just easy to clean up that language by taking that out. I'm not sure why anybody would want to park a commercial vehicle in their backyard, but I guess playing devil's advocate, if I'm a neighbor to someone who owns a dump truck, do I want them to park it in the backyard so I don't see it in the front? I hate asking rhetorical questions, but that's just something that popped into my mind. I don't know. Maybe that is the lesser of the evil, I guess. I'm not sure. Just a thought.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Claffey?
One last thing. In 3.22.1, we talk about what's not allowed in line item 3, but then in line item 5, just so everyone's aware, you can get the right to be able to park a semi-trailer or a tractor trailer in your driveway. So,
Yes, but that is with special permit, and with
Understand.
special permit, the commission have the ability to then demand landscaping and screening and positioning and these kind of things. So, special permits are good for these larger provisions, and they're good because they always involve public hearings too. So then the neighbors actually come in and voice their opinions.
yeah, I'm just
This
pointing
is-
that out because it reverts you back to
Yeah.
3.4.8 pushes you 3.22. So it's like a revolving circle. If you want one more, you got to go to 3.22, and then it just says go to 3.48. So I don't know where you're saying that. It doesn't say you have to get, it just says you have the right to ask. It doesn't say ask for a special permit. That then would put you in that paragraph in our code that says we can make whatever rule we want, per se. Is that correct?
I'm not sure what that means.
So under number 5, it says you can ask for exception to 3.22.1 to get a second vehicle, but nowhere does it say that second vehicle is a special permit.
I see what he's
I
saying.
mean, it does in section 3.4.8, doesn't it say that?
No, it just says
Oh.
go to section 3 in 3.4.8 in our current code. It says go to 3.22.
Yeah,
So we're missing a verbiage that says if you want that second vehicle, it's actually a special permit.
he's correct on that. It does not point you to a special permit application.
That's
As
all.
written.
It's just a simple sentence.
You.
Okay, that needs to be then cleaned up.
Yes, it might be worthwhile to hold off on this for one meeting and clean up the language.
I mean, yeah, can I clarify one thing? 3.4.8.
No, it is a special
It
permit.
is
That's a
special
whole
permit in
special permit
residential
section.
zones if you go to the heading of 3.4.
Yeah, no, that whole section
Correct.
is special permit in residential.
So you're
zone.
actually saying going to, well, okay, you're missing the, I see what you're saying. Okay. I see, more than one.
3.4 is special
It is the
permit.
special permit,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for that specific thing.
Correct.
I mean, you guys, stop confusing me.
No, you're right, you're right. No, I had the page open and I was just going between, I just went to 3.48, didn't even think.
No, but you know what I will say to this? This just proves my point that we have to fix these regulations. If we are getting like ourselves confused here, like that's not a good sign.
Well, technically, I mean, under line item 5, it should just read, see section 3.4 to obtain TPZ permission. It shouldn't even read 3.4.8. Because in the reading of 3.4, you're gonna have to find that section on your own as an applicant.
We could refer to it maybe, just
You
put
know what I'm
the,
saying? Like it's confusing in itself. Because I saw that and I went to 3.4.8 and said, well, it goes back to 3.22. But now I see
Okay.
because you're obtaining special permission under section 3.4, not 3.4.8.
Commissioner Woods?
I was just gonna say, on this topic, do you want to limit that second commercial vehicle if someone needs it to a weight, to a GVW that it can't exceed? Or am I getting?
Commissioner Woods, we talked about that a while ago, like years ago, and it kind of, I think it went on deaf ears because the vehicles keep changing. I think one of the points was like take a standard pickup truck now or a standard dually pickup truck. They could be over the VW weight if we put a number into our code, and then a guy who just has one to have one who pulls his fifth wheel is in violation because of the weight of the vehicle.
But again, I'm only in reference to the second vehicle. We don't have weight limitations for the first, for the second. And that kind of keeps it so you can't get the tractor trailer,
I see
or
what you're
a
saying.
triaxle. That's all. Just something to think of. They got to clean it up so they can also chew on that for a week
Good
or
point.
two.
We can't make changes like that now. The hearing is closed. We can make modifications to things that are before us that were discussed like as a part of the record, but not
Okay.
introducing now new kind of changes.
All right.
Renata, I have a question for you, Renata. Commissioner Woods, are you all set or do you have something else?
Yes, I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Renata, if somebody wanted to put a triaxle in their yard, they wouldn't be able to do that, correct? By the way this is written?
Eric, what is a triaxle?
A triaxle with a large dump truck with multi-axles, three
So,
axles at the rear end.
Yeah, I would say under 3A, heavy duty equipment is not include, heavy dirty earth moving equipment. Those items are not included.
Okay, so we do have that protection. That's what I wanted to point out to the other commissioners, that we are protected there. That would be considered heavy equipment.
Okay,
Heavy
I'm
construction
fine.
equipment. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, are we gonna make any changes at all to the language on this, Renata?
We can't because it's a closed hearing.
No, but just on that,
Well, we have
The
recommended at the last hearing that one change would be to do a parking of one commercial vehicle customarily used to exclude any potential like operational issues of commercial nature on a residential lot. So we recommended that as a part of the motion. But that, I believe, was the only thing that we discussed at the last meeting. I do not believe that at this discussion, we produced any proposals for changes. We talked about clarifications under subsection 5, but you know, the way that reads back, it is okay. Eventually we'll have to correct like all of the zoning regulations and restructure the way they are. But for now, I think that leads us to the proper place. So
what about the parking in the side and the rear yard? Are we gonna modify that language, and are we allowed to modify that?
yes, you are allowed to modify after the close of the public hearing. It is your regulation and you can modify it. You can just not introduce like substantial, I think, changes.
So if I could go to the commissioners, is everybody in favor of modifying that C1? And what would it read, Renata? How would it read? Just should we park either in
The parking of one.
I would think, kind of like Commissioner Wood said, such vehicle shall be parked in the driveway on a suitable paved surface or paved area.
on a paved area, period?
But that's your guys' language. I mean, I think that's the gist of what he was getting at.
In the driveway or paved area, but not suitable paved area. Right?
So I think if it's in the driveway, that the driveway is a paved area, I think that would cover us, right?
So is that what you're talking about? Such vehicles shall be parked in the driveway? That's it?
In the
side
driveway
or rear yard?
on a paved area.
In the driveway on a paved area. Okay. Is that what all the commissioners are in favor of?
I'm fine with that.
Good.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods.
I'm good.
Okay, it sounds like everybody's good on that. So without objection, do you have a motion for this, Renata, by any chance?
If we do.
Commissioner, Vice Chairman Claffey, would you like to handle this motion, please?
Petition 52. Was there a motion made? I just want to make sure.
We're doing it now.
This is the motion.
Motion's been made. Okay. Petition 52-21 zoning text amendment, section 3.22.1 to define and allow commercial vehicles as an accessory use in residential zones. Applicant and contact Newington TPZ. I move to approve the text amendment with an effective date of February 22nd, 2022. Reason for the approval: the proposed regulation amendment clarifies and defines commercial vehicles and their allowed uses within the residential zones.
And this will be as
As amended.
modified, as amended. If you could add that, Vice Chairman,
As amended.
as amended by us just recently. We just amended section 1. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded by Commissioner Woods. Any questions? Any questions? Noreen, if you could do a roll call vote, please, I'd appreciate it.
You're muted, Noreen.
Commissioner Haggerty,
Yes.
Commissioner Havens,
Yes.
Commissioner Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Twister,
Yes.
Commissioner Woods,
Yes.
Chairman Payne.
Yes,
Unanimous.
thank you, Noreen.
You're welcome.
Well, that was a long time coming, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, it was. I'm glad that's we've got that taken care of now. Okay, the next petition, Commissioner Linares, if you could read petition 0122, please.
It is 0122.
Yeah. It's stated as 21 on the screen.
Yes, it is. Understood, but it is 22, 0122.
So petition 01-22, special permit section 3.17.8 and associated site plan to allow storage of motor vehicles at 249 Day Street, applicant Mirabelli Automotive LLC, owner 249 Day Street LLC, contact Robert Ludgen.
So
I have to finish.
maybe we could, before you read the actual motion,
Sure.
maybe we could discuss we can do a few conditions on here. For instance, Renata, you want to make sure that the fence is modified to not to exceed the height that was allowed, correct?
Correct, Mr. Chair.
And oh, is that the application? Oh, you have that on there already. Okay, and then the only thing else, did you get a chance, Eric, to look at the sight lines there at the front where the some of the brush is by the road?
I had the LTA and town engineer both review the site for safety issues. They both had no problem with it. They just recommended that some of the brush in the town right away be cut at the appropriate time.
Yeah, it's pretty close to the road.
Yep.
Okay, go right ahead, Commissioner Linares.
Move to approve the special permit with the following condition. The applicant shall remove the barbed wire on top of the fence to reduce the fence height to 6 feet per the approved variance issued by the ZBA. Reasons for the approval: as proposed, this application meets the special permit requirements as in sections 5.2 and 6.11 of the regulations.
Okay, motion made. Do I have a second?
Seconded
Seconded by Commissioner Haggerty. Any discussion? Questions? Noreen, if you could do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Claffey,
No.
Commissioner Haggerty,
Yes.
Commissioner Havens,
Yes.
Commissioner Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Twister,
Yes.
Commissioner Woods,
Yes.
Chairman Payne.
Yes. 6-1.
6-1 in favor, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, very good. And we have.
Mr.
our
Chair, I have a
next-
question. Just,
Certainly.
was there any opposition in that public hearing?
No, there was no up.
There
no
was no public opposition to that. Okay, thank you.
It kind of surprises you because every time else we talk about that area, we have.
My thoughts exactly. Everything is vehemently opposed to that area, but, okay.
Okay, thank you, and very good. Thank you, applicant. And the next thing on the agenda is petition 0222, a site plan modification at 16 Fen Road, applicant Vincent Parizo, owner 16 Fen Road Realty LLC, contact attorney Mark Shipman. And if I could have somebody read the motion for that.
Petition 02-22 site plan modification at 16 Fen Road. Applicant Vincent Porzio, owner 16 Fen Road Realty LLC, contact Mark S. Shipman. I move to approve the site plan modification at 16 Fen Road. Reason for the approval: as proposed, this application meets site plan requirements in section 5.3 of the regulations.
Okay, a motion made by Vice Chairman Claffey. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Havens.
Seconded by Commissioner Havens. Is there any final questions or concerns on this? Any comment? Hearing none. Noreen, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Claffey,
Yay.
Commissioner Haggerty,
Yes.
Commissioner Havens,
Yes.
Commissioner Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Twister,
Yes.
Commissioner Woods,
Yes.
Chairman Payne.
Yes,
Unanimous.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next thing is petitions for public hearing scheduling. I'll ask the town planner if she has anything to talk about under this section.
So we have one petition to schedule for public hearing. It's a petition that we received to modify zoning regulations pertaining to residential buildings in the PD zone regarding hiring of third-party consultants at applicant's expense, requiring a direct site access to Berlin Turnpike, requiring a traffic impact analysis, and reducing building height to 2 stories in PD zone. This is tentatively scheduled for first meeting in March.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to go right into your town planner's report if there's no questions?
Sure. So I will start by talking through my current land use application, the future agenda report. So coming up, one thing of interest for public will be that we had an application that was scheduled for February 9th, Weber's Nursery application. A lot of neighbors had called our office and I think probably intended to attend that February 9th meeting or tonight's meeting. We rescheduled that application because there were some changes Meanwhile, what had happened is the applicant withdrew the original application for special permit and refiled a different application for site plan. So this is going to be in front of the commission still on February 23rd, which is what we did tell many of the neighbors. However, this is going to be a site plan application, which will not include a public hearing. So I just wanted to notify the public of that change because I know that this is a matter of some interest to people. We have an application. I talked to the commission about this several months ago. There are a couple of provisions within the way we regulate parking and driveway design that are in conflict from one section in the regulation to another section in the regulation. And we are trying to fix those. So that's scheduled for the hearing at the next meeting as well. There is an application for a place of worship to go on 425 New Britain Avenue at the next meeting. And then there is an application for the housing development on the intersection of Payne Road and Macaulay Road. That's all scheduled for the second meeting in February. And then, like I just said, this application for the zoning regulation amendment will be scheduled for the first meeting in March. The second item that I wanted to talk to the commission about tonight was, in addition to talking about accessory apartments, I think it's really important that we start talking about defining this character of the neighborhood. I think that's another section where we are out of compliance with the state statutes, and we have to like do something about that. Like I feel very pressured to fix that part of our zoning regulations. So I was wondering if the commission would be interested in me bringing to you a drafted preliminary draft of the proposed definition of the character of the neighborhood for us to start discussing this at the next meeting under the business. Now, this is not going to be a proposal yet. I don't want to, assume that I know what character of the neighborhood in Newington is, but I am willing to draft something and have this conversation started so that we can start working on this sooner rather than later as well.
That sounds like a good plan, Renata. Maybe we could make time on our regular agenda instead of having a special meeting again, an early special meeting on that one thing. I think we can.
This one thing I was going to do under like a normal business agenda. It was going to be under normal business agenda. We would discuss it under that. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Is there any questions from the commissioners concerning that? Is everybody in favor of that?
That's fine with me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, you can continue, Renata.
I have nothing to continue. I'm finished.
Nothing else.
I'm done.
Hey, Renata, you have nothing else. Several times tonight, the regulation on RV came up, the 3.32. Is, if it's possible, do you think that we could add that to your long list of things that we could look at that regulation and review that section and make sure everybody's happy with it? And not necessarily way, but if we could just get it on the on your list.
We can add that. And actually, as a matter of fact, this is another thing that at some point we will talk. And we have several large applications that are probably going to be rolling through my office. So I don't want to, and I already have several text amendments that are pretty pressing. So I don't want to overcommit and overpromise and then not deliver. But another thing that we should be discussing is in our plan of conservation and development, we have 140 some odd action items that are, we need to sit down and go over those and then have, some kind of understanding on prioritization. One of which being which of the zoning regulations we prioritize. So
Yep.
this will be on my list and we will do prioritization at some point for sure.
And I think we talked about this earlier, Renata, and if it's helpful and you want me to come in and go over that before the meeting, I can do that. Just let me know what's convenient for yourself. Is there any questions or comments from any of the commissioners concerning the town planner's report? And we have communications next. We have the CROG letters, which everybody has. Does anybody have any questions concerning those? If there's no objection, I will go to public participation. Within the Zoom application, you can raise your hand if you'd like to participate during public participation. If calling into Zoom meeting by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. Use *6 when recognized to speak by telephone. Please state your name and address for the record. Is there anybody from the public would like to be recognized?
We have a number of people out there, but nobody has their hand raised at the moment, Chairman.
Okay, we'll give it a minute and
I believe one of your commissioners has his hand raised.
okay. Vice Chairman Claffey, go right ahead.
You're muted.
Dominic, someone from the public has their hand up now too.
Okay. Let me just see what,
No, I guess
Yeah.
mine was with the West Hartford CROG. I didn't see it and I thought it was missed out of my stuff. But I know it did get into mixed use TODD. So I don't know if it's something we want to watch a little closer because it does affect us, especially because the Connecticut Fast Track.
okay, thank you.
We have Igor. Would you like to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you. And I apologize. I know that my application somewhat was an agenda for scheduling, and I might have tuned out for like 30 seconds, and I wasn't quite sure what the result of their agenda item was. If you don't mind just filling me in or repeating what was discussed.
It's on the agenda and I believe it's coming in the beginning of March. So, correct, Renata?
Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, you can always call the town planner anytime, but your application is scheduled for the beginning of March.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rose. Oops, I believe it's Rose. I think you're
Yep.
there.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I just wanted to publicly thank Renata for her patience with my multiple emails going back and forth about our affordable housing count here in Newington. I know that the Department of Housing puts out a report yearly, but in looking at their report, it's based on the census of 2010. I'm hoping that soon that they will come out with the 2020 census in comparison with the dwelling units and the number of affordable housing we have here to come up with a percentage of affordable housing here in Newington. Once again, Renata, thank you so much. I know I have a lot of questions and you have a lot of patience, and I just wanted the commission to know how nice you've been to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Anybody else from the public wishing to make a comment or speak about anything?
It looks like it right now, Chairman.
Okay. All right, without any objection, we will go to remarks from commissioners. If any of the other commissioners have anything else. I want to thank,
Gil has something. Nope, Gil has something.
Yeah.
oh, I didn't see, Commissioner Gill, go right ahead.
Yes, Chairman. In regards to 16 Fen Road, have we've approved the site plan. Has that gone any farther?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure that I understand the question. What do you mean?
Well,
They're under construction. 16 Fen Road is under construction. I think they poured the foundation and they're very well under construction. That's the car wash. Is that the site you're asking?
Yes, yes.
Yes, they're definitely under construction. They have poured foundation, and I'm not sure if they pulled up framing permits yet, but they're well under construction on this one.
Okay. From the drawings that we have here, there's no lighting in that driveway that we talked about today.
So I don't remember how that was approved. That driveway belonged to the property next door to them. So the driveway is not on
Part of
their
this,
site.
yeah, it's not part of, that driveway is not part of their land.
No.
Okay.
And I don't remember off the top of my head without looking at the approved site plans, whether or not when we were approving that, there was installed lighting in that driveway or not, as a part of the approved plan for the car wash or not.
All right, because we had talked about the lighting and also the possibility of a sidewalk. Now, the sidewalk that's on Fen Road, that is a sidewalk up there, right?
It is going to be installed as part of this process.
Okay. The telephone pole that's at the end of that sidewalk to the south, is that going to compromise that sidewalk there?
I'm sure they're gonna have to deal with that, you know, when they're starting to work there, and the utility company is gonna get involved, you know, and they'll have to figure out.
Okay.
Anything else, Commissioner?
Yeah. Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question to Renata. Has been mulling around in my head. She's mentioned a couple of times tonight that she's going to write a character of the neighborhood for the town. Is it one neighborhood for our town? I mean, how do you do that? Because it depends on where you are, right?
Well, it doesn't actually, because the state statute only allows to define the character by the specific site and architectural things. So I think I'll have to write something to the effect of the character of the neighborhood as per, you know, surrounding land uses, surrounding building bulks and height, and, you know, I'll have to think about how I do that, but it will have to be something that refers to the physical elements of buildings and developments around, you know, the property that we're talking about. So that's what this comes down to. It has to belong to the elements of site plan and elements of buildings, but not elements of people. That's
All right,
what
well,
the thing is.
Good luck with that. I look forward to reading it.
I know, I know.
I'm sure you do a great job. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? Does our liaison have anything? Either liaison have anything? Or Okay, if there's no comments, I'll entertain a motion. I want to thank everybody for attending the last two special meetings. I know it's hard to attend an early meeting and have our regular meeting. So I want to thank everybody, and I want to thank the staff. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Woods. All in favor? Aye.
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 Very good.
Thanks,
Opposed?
everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much,
Good night.
everybody.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.